Welcome to the Gold Newsletter Podcast, your bank of knowledge of investment, economics, and geopolitics. Go to goldnewsletter.com for our publications and archives.
This is the Gold Newsletter Podcast. Fergus Hodgson, your host. Thank you for tuning in. It's always my privilege to do these, and I love speaking with fascinating people from all around the world. And today we have a gentleman all the way from Cyprus. Incredible. So his name is a mouthful, so forgive me, but it is Andreas Vlachos, and he is a man who works on various blockchain associations with the University of Nicosia, which is there in Cyprus, and it is the world's leading the first mover when it comes to blockchain and digital currency education. He's going to explain to us the state of Ethereum, decentralized apps, all the good stuff. Welcome to the show, mate.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a great honor to be a guest at the Gold Newsletter Podcast, and looking forward to discuss with you the recent developments in the crypto space.
Yeah, and you just said that Ethereum has reached an all-time high in value. So obviously, Bitcoin gets a huge amount of the press coverage, but along with that, other digital currencies, and Ethereum is more than just a digital currency. Why is its value so high, or why has it been rising? And what exactly is Ethereum?
Yeah, obviously, the adoption of Bitcoin and Ethereum by major asset management institutions that has an immediate impact on the price rise we have witnessed the last few months. But Ethereum is fundamentally different from Bitcoin. To my understanding, Bitcoin has been developed with the aim to transform, to disrupt the money transfer procedures, to act like a global currency. But Ethereum is basically a platform where decentralized applications can be built on. So it has a whole other different functionalities than Bitcoin. And these decentralized applications that are currently being built on, the more adoption we witness on these decentralized applications, the more capable is for the price to rise. Now, these decentralized applications are very special because the Ethereum network allows them to run without need for approval by a middleman or a central party. So there are plenty of examples of decentralized applications that are currently being built on, including decentralized applications that are trying to disrupt the betting industry or the prediction industry, or several other decentralized applications which are different in terms of state to the current crypto exchanges. So we have the so-called concept of decentralized exchanges, where users can interact peer-to-peer directly to each other, rather than relying on centralized server to facilitate transactions. So it's a whole different game than.
Yeah, so the digital currency element, which many of us find easier to understand, is a small piece of the puzzle when it comes to Ethereum.
Yes, basically the Ethereum blockchain is used for storage purposes and for transaction monitoring. The real magic behind Ethereum is the smart contracts technology. The smart contracts are basically agreements which are facilitated by certain actions, and are basically smart contracts are code. They are computer code. An example of a smart contract would be if the Los Angeles Lakers win the NBA championship, I'm trying to talk in USA terms now, then Party A will pay Party B with 1 Ethereum. That's a type of a smart contract. Now, the difference between a traditional betting company is that the funds, the agreement is done directly between the two parties, and there is no central party that is able to block a transaction or limit the funds devoted to a transaction or delay a transaction and so on. On the other hand, there are other platforms that are currently being developed which can be seen as competitors to Ethereum, like Polkadot and Cosmos.
Okay.
And these platforms go ahead.
Yeah. Why has there been more institutional interest in just this past year versus 5 years ago? What has changed?
I think that we are witnessing many decentralized applications to become, let's say, more mature through the years, especially during the early years and during the ICO boom. If you remember, back in 2017, we had many projects that were built with code bugs, or they were just scams. So they just wanted to grab the attention of the users and just raise some funds and then disappear. But I think that it needed some time, and it needed a few years. So I think that 2021, 2022, we will see the real viable decentralized applications emerge. And the more users that enter into the market, the more the affection will be on its price, on the Ethereum price and the Ethereum token price, which Ethereum tokens are unique for each of the decentralized applications used.
Right. Now, for people who are not so familiar with this, ICO, initial coin offering, what is that? And you said there was a boom in 2017. I'm familiar with that. Has it died down permanently? What's the status of ICOs?
The ICOs were a concept that allowed hundreds and thousands of projects to raise money. It was an alternative crowdfunding mechanism, which was done via the blockchain and not with traditional IPO methods. So basically, there were some white papers coming out for each project, many promises by the ICO leaders, the project managers, and so on, of how the token will be used, which are the creators, what is the purpose, and so on. Basically, you had to provide the creators with Bitcoin or Ethereum, for example, and in exchange, you got the native token of that project, with the hope that that token would at some point gain value, and or it could be used as a utility token for that decentralized application build. But time proved that more than 95% of the ICO industry has vanished. So only around 5% of those projects created are currently live and have a good potential.
Ouch. Yeah. That hurts. Why was it just such a Wild West scam?
Okay, some of the projects were scammy, yeah, that's for sure. But
or if they weren't scams, why did they fail at such a tragic rate?
Yeah, because obviously to use the blockchain technology for a specific cause, you have to ask yourself, do I need a blockchain for something? Do I need to shift the power from a centralized party to the power of users? Because that's what blockchain does. It eliminates the middleman. And not all projects satisfy this criteria. Also, the ICO cost made many people rich. So some people got rich too easily and just then forgot about the project and just ran away with the tokens.
So the buyers of the ICO tokens did get ownership of these projects, but the projects themselves basically didn't come to fruition.
Basically, you don't get actual ownership in all cases of the project. You are just there was a distribution of tokens of each project to the, let's say, the investors. This doesn't mean that the investors could change the code or disrupt any procedures. It was just you just had to believe in a project and the decentralized application that was being built in order to invest in one. Now, some of these tokens had, for example, voting rights. So yeah, and sometimes the new users of a token could vote for the mechanism that's going to be used or for any decisions. But generally, the purpose of blockchain is to be decentralized and to not depend upon centralized parties. So we have also witnessed many people to be involved in many projects, in many ICOs. So that was a recipe for disaster, because obviously in such a unique space, you can't devote time as a creator or as a founder of many decentralized protocols, because it's not easy. We haven't seen yet a killer decentralized app, for example. I mean, in my opinion, Bitcoin to this day has been the only, let's say, killer app of blockchain. So if you've seen people that were involved in dozens of projects, then those projects did not succeed, obviously.
Okay, just to clarify then, because I get confused by this, and I do find the ICO idea appealing, right? So in the United States, there's been almost a 50% decline in the last 30 years regarding the number of firms that actually are listed on stock exchanges. There's been obviously the exchanges have increased in value, but the number of firms has gone down. Part of the reason is just that the compliance, the hurdle to get on there is much higher, right? Much more costly. So seeing an alternative path that gets around that is very appealing. Why can ICOs not satisfy that desire to get public ownership without going through conventional share markets?
Yeah, well, at the beginning of 2017, when ICO started to launch in a massive rate, there were no existing regulations governing the launch of ICOs. But soon, including some states in USA, they did publish some guidelines on ICO regarding ICO launches, and this actually caused, I forgot to mention, but this was also a reason that we see the decline of ICO launches in recent years, because because of regulation, basically. So because of all of these scams and all of these projects that where people felt that they lost their money, regulators came in and imposed restrictions. And basically now we have the concept of STOs, meaning security token offerings, and not ICOs. So nowadays we mostly see tokens being launched as an STO, where the token must satisfy the criteria of being a security with the Howey test and so on. So it's
what is that test you referred to?
It's the Howey test. It's spelled HOWEY, and this goes for any asset. But in order for an asset to be considered a security, it must satisfy this Howey test, and this is what has been adapted also in the United States for security token offering.
So basically, the ICO market had serious structural problems, and now the more viable alternative is STOs.
Yes.
Right.
That's exactly how it is, and the name changed due to basically the regulatory restrictions imposed.
Right. And are you confident then that STOs will rise and compete with conventional stock markets?
I don't think that anyone can answer that question, to be honest, to be 100% honest. I think that right now the hype around the blockchain space is the decentralized finance space, where we are seeing many decentralized applications flourish. And commonly, if these decentralized applications are created by, let's say, a company, for example, they have to satisfy, if they are based in USA, in certain states, they have to satisfy the security token regulations. So it actually depends of where the company that launches a token is located. For example, in Switzerland, there are the tokens have been divided into three categories: utility token, payment token, and security token. So if you are launching a token that can be considered either of those three, then you are well within the regulatory space. So it actually depends. It's I think regulation has an important factor to play for crypto adoption.
Has there been self-regulation or industry regulation where, I mean, that's the origin of modern stock markets, that before they were regulated by government, they were basically private organizations that were set up to arrange or facilitate and somewhat police stock trading in a private fashion. Has that not happened in the STO space?
No, I think the regulator, there are regions in the world where obviously there have not been any STO or ICO regulations imposed, maybe only some guidelines, or some other parts of the world have completely banned the issuing of ICOs. But in advanced economies like USA or Singapore, or for example, Malta is also a small island in Europe which has embraced blockchain regulation. So they jumped on really quickly and imposed those guidelines to blockchain startups and to this kind of projects. So I think that we are heavily depend on the regulatory aspect, and that's why we witness small nations creating blockchain regulatory frameworks in order to attract crypto exchanges or blockchain startups to set up their headquarters in that region. Examples of these countries are Malta, which is half the size of Cyprus, is less than 500,000 population. Gibraltar, Liechtenstein. Singapore is relatively small as well. Even Cyprus is now considering to create a complete regulatory framework. Bahamas. So we are witnessing an attempt from these small and innovative countries, tech-savvy countries, to impose friendly regulations, I must say, non-hostile regulations, in order to attract these kinds of investments.
The Gold Newsletter is proudly sponsored by Inventa Capital Corporation, a venture capital advisory firm dedicated to the acquisition and development of assets in the natural resource sector. Today, Inventa is one of the premier mining groups with a first-rate portfolio of companies and a world-class team.
Hi, I'm Brian London, and I am back with another CEO interview this week. This week, we have Michael Connert, CEO of Vizsla Resources, symbol VZLA on the Venture Exchange. And Vizsla, of course, is a member of the Inventa Capital Group, which is the sponsor of the Gold Newsletter podcast. And Michael, Vizsla has been one of the highest profile silver exploration stories in recent memory. Your Panuco project in Mexico has tremendous potential. You've only, pardon the pun, scratched the surface yet. We're exploring on, I guess, three primary targets so far, three primary veins, but getting spectacular results. You recently announced that you're changing the name because of the silver focus from Vizsla Resources to Vizsla Silver. Yet, ironically, just about the same time, you announced new drill results, ultra high grade drill results that have a strong gold component. So I guess that kind of just speaks to the extremely high grade precious metals nature of the Panuco project. Can you kind of summarize things for us, the size of the project, the potential you have, what you've explored so far?
Absolutely. So we're the first company actually to have come in and consolidated this Copala Panuco district. And it truly is a district. It stretches 15 kilometers from east to west. We have over 75 kilometers of veins that we know about that are outcropping. We're drilling maybe 10% of that right now with our program. There's flatline structures that are left to be discovered in there. It truly is a district scale. Now, the interesting thing that we maybe didn't highlight as much in the past, but I just got back from the project and was reminded of the excellent infrastructure there. So 2 highways wind through the property. Napoleon is literally 40 meters off of the highway. It's like Hemlo, it's like the Hemlo of Mexico, driven past by geologists for many years. And we just made, spectacular high-grade discoveries there. So it just speaks to the underexplored, underdeveloped nature of this truly district-sized opportunity here.
Yeah, and those recent drill results you announced, if I remember correctly, you got up to 10,000 grams per ton, 10 kilos silver equivalent, with an extraordinarily high gold component in those results at the Napoleon vein, and essentially doubled the down dip extent of that vein, which was a tremendous step out for you in that kind of a structure, correct?
Absolutely, and it just speaks to the talent, I think, of our technical team at the project. But yeah, we doubled the depth extent to almost 400 meters now of depth at Napoleon, and we drilled spectacular high grades. And what really stood out there, again, was that gold. So getting that zonation, getting that gold at depth there, basically doubling the depth extent of the ore shoot there was really quite impressive. But it seems to really be stepping out to the north nicely as well too. So we're seeing the volume, the potential for a high volume ore shoot here is really growing with Napoleon. I think there's going to be more exciting high grade results both at depth and to the north on a step out.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much at those grades, obviously, to build up a lot of ounces, not necessarily a lot of tons, but a lot of ounces to the resource when you're talking about grades like that. So building along strike and at depth extent, and of course, in a vein type environment like that, you don't have to worry about pit depths or anything like that, because you're going straight down underground mining along the high grade, and it pays for itself on every meter. What's interesting to me is that you've got Napoleon is one of 3 veins that you're primarily exploring right now. The property position is massive, but it's just replete, just filled with potentially similar veins, and you've got so much ahead of you. And that's always been the story, that there's huge potential yet to be discovered and uncovered, because you have these types of veins all over the property. But you just announced an EM survey, a geophysical survey, ground geophysical survey, and you had some intriguing comments in the news release about that, about the potential to expand these discoveries, I guess find new ones, but a different type of structure perhaps, or a different type of mineralization. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, and just to actually touch on one of your earlier points there, you mentioned just the size of the district here. It is comparable to things that we've seen in the past, like a Bolognese, a Palmarejo, San Dimas, any of these long-lived, very long, long life, high-grade vein fields that you see in Mexico. This is very comparable to that. So, as I mentioned earlier, is that we're really the first group to have this entire district to explore. And as such, all we've been doing so far has been prospecting, mapping, sampling, and then drilling. It's been actually, our success rate's fantastic. We've been making discoveries on at every vein corridor we're drilling here. So we haven't had to get high tech or haven't had to do anything necessarily too creative, because it's simple exploration. It's sampling, mapping, and drilling. But now that we're uncovering these massive sulfide hits, on the Napoleon vein and elsewhere, in the district, we're looking at this as an opportunity to get a little bit predictive with our drilling, and by using airborne and EM, we'll have the opportunity to see if there's a signature that we can pick up on the massive sulfides here, and then look for other types of structures, whether those are flatline structures. We've seen evidence, and we know of other flatline structures in the vein field that have either been mined out or been developed in the past by the kind of the local artisanal miners. And so finding one of these new flatline structures that doesn't have that surface expression, I think could also be a game changer. But what we're doing is we're working very rapidly to put together initial resource on Napoleon. That'll be likely the first place for that. But the idea is just to continue to demonstrate that this is one of these massive silver fields, and so by finding more targets and getting a little bit more creative in the ways that we explore for them, I think that's going to be a benefit, in demonstrating the upside of Copala Panuco.
Yeah, as exciting as these veins are, if you can identify some flatline structures, that has implications not only for the economics of exploiting a deposit, but also the size as well. That could be a real game changer. You're exploring and you're drilling aggressively. Can you give us, as we close out, just a brief idea of how much drilling you're doing now, the program you're in the midst of, and what potential catalysts we're looking ahead?
Yeah, definitely. So we're still very well funded. We have around 25 million in the bank.
Wow.
We've just brought our 7th rig to the project. So we've got 4 rigs turning on Napoleon. It's really quite impressive just having come back from it and seen all those rigs turning. But we have 4 rigs on Napoleon, 1 rig on Tajitos, and 2 on Cordon del Oro. The first half of this year, from January to the middle of 2021, we'll be drilling. We're going to attempt to drill about 40,000 meters into the district there. And again, worth reminding about the success rate that we've been having so far with our discoveries at Napoleon and Tajitos and Cordon del Oro. So, I'm very excited about it. Each one of these holes and could be a new game changer. We're finding high grade there constantly, so it's a very exciting drill program.
Yeah, as far as news flow, and that's of course the lifeblood of any junior, you're going to be providing it more so than just about anybody out there. I think it will remain, in my opinion, Vizsla, it will remain, and it's been a great performer for our gold newsletter readers so far. I think it's going to be one of the key silver exploration stories going forward, obviously with the kind of news flow you have coming out and such an aggressive drill program. But I also think in general, the silver plays are going to come back into vogue very soon. And get their place in the sun again, which could all by itself lift all boats and Vizsla's market value. So
yeah, and of course, certainly we are an exploration play, but one thing that I think sets us aside from any other silver explorer out there right now is that we also have this 500 ton per day mill under option to us. We have all the permits, all the agreements that we would need to be in production very rapidly. So as we we certainly are the most aggressive junior explorer for silver in Mexico right now, and as we continue that aggressive exploration, we'll get to a point in the near future here where we can start looking at, well, how does this transition into production? And we don't have to spend the years to build a mill. We don't have to spend the fresh capital to build a production facility. We have that under option to us. High tension power, roads running through the property. It's really a unique opportunity.
Yeah, and you have a clear path to development, and therefore you should earn a higher rating valuation by the market, because you don't have that long kind of Lassonde curve development period where companies tend to languish. Michael, very exciting stuff. I know you've got a lot of more results coming up with those kinds of drilling, that many drill rigs working. So I'm sure we'll have another update with more results very soon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate it.
But to facilitate those markets functioning smoothly.
Yes.
What message do you have for individual investors who see this and they don't know really any of the tactics, but then just to buy Ethereum or buy Bitcoin, How, and maybe they don't know of the right firms to buy on public exchanges. How can they get involved in this space?
Yeah, well, the most important aspect is to understand that this is a very volatile market. All crypto exchanges are very volatile and can easily be manipulated anytime, 24/7. For example, a few days ago, we have seen a tweet from Elon Musk that he's interested into Bitcoin, and the price rose by 15% in a couple of hours by a tweet. So this is something that is not happening. It's not happening in traditional markets. The market can be easily manipulated. But for a newcomer into the industry, I would say that he or she needs to get familiar with the several types of cryptocurrency wallets. So you can buy, let's say, your first cryptos in a centralized exchange. But then I will say that what is recommended to do by industry experts is to move the coins, the tokens, into a mobile wallet or a hardware wallet that gives full control and full ownership of funds to the actual user. Because we have seen in the past major hacks of Bitcoin exchanges. By having the funds in Bitcoin exchanges sometimes can be risky. It's like having your funds in a bank, let's say, or trusting your funds in a third party or a centralized party. That sometimes can be good and secure, but to be honest, we have seen also many hacks of centralized exchanges. So by downloading a mobile application, a mobile wallet, and these mobile wallets are open source, so their code can be inspected openly. These kinds of wallets usually give full ownership to the actual user, and no one can delay or block a transaction.
Yeah, that's a good point, because, and I forget the name of the exchange right now, but a Canadian exchange, and there's some controversy over what happened, but apparently the owner died. Yeah, and a couple hundred million dollars was lost in cryptocurrency holdings. So there is conspiracy theories that he ran off to India or somewhere like that and is just enjoying his riches, but I don't know about that. Yeah.
I don't know, but that's an example of centralized party failure, right? So if those users moved their funds to, let's say, hardware wallets or mobile wallets. Hardware wallets are in form of a USB, let's say, and are the safest option. But in general, if they moved their funds outside of that exchange, then their funds would be safe. Okay, there is some kind of responsibility when you are moving your funds into a mobile wallet or a hardware wallet. First of all, you can't forget your password, and if you forget your password, or if the mobile is destroyed, there is also a backup phrase that is generated every time another wallet is being launched. And this backup phrase consists usually of 12 or 24 words. So in case that your mobile is stolen, or your hardware wallet is stolen, or you lose it, you can use this phrase to recover your funds. So the only way that you can lose your funds via a mobile wallet or a hardware wallet is by losing both your device and your backup phrase. And yeah, there is some kind of responsibility, but personally, I prefer that rather than trusting my funds to any other person or centralized entity.
But what you've described thus far is purely the buy and hold strategy. What about investing in firms that are trying to innovate in this space?
Yeah, I mean, myself, I can't say that I am an active trader or or I am the expert to give investment decisions, but I will say that you have to see, first of all, you have to read the white paper of a new project, like understand the mechanics, the technicalities, and whether there are any potential use cases. I mean, whether a newly decentralized app actually disrupts the current status quo. For example, let's say a new decentralized app it's trying to disrupt the insurance industry by automatically reimbursing users in case of water flood, for example. So that will be something disruptive because the smart contract will facilitate fund allocation to a user automatically, and the user will not have to trust a centralized insurance company for his or her compensation. So these are all some. It's very difficult to predict which projects are going to succeed or not. It depends also from the intentions of the creators of the code itself, whether it has any bugs or not. So yeah, it's a
Yeah. What I'm trying to tease out, Andreas, is are there strategies aside from simple? I mean, we can say yes, use cold storage or physical storage off exchanges, fine. And thus far, of course, just buying and holding many of these cryptocurrencies, that has proved lucrative, right? It's paid plenty of returns, and I don't see any slowing to that in the future, to be frank. But I just know that other people, they like to see an actual company. They like to see dividends. They want to see a more traditional model. Are there examples where they can go to that are actually listed or available through a broker where they can get involved, or do they have to do this more on a private equity basis?
Yeah, I mean, that's upon the decision of each investor. You cannot rely on the traditional fundamental and technical analysis to predict crypto price in the future. Because as we mentioned before, the market can be easily manipulated. For example, it has been proven that the majority of the Bitcoin funds are held into 20 or 25 Bitcoin addresses. So you can understand how easily the market can be manipulated and how easily certain people can cause the rise or the decline of the price of any cryptocurrency.
Right.
So I will say that, and this is a fact, that whoever has held in Ethereum, he's a winner because Ethereum hit an all-time high today. So I would say that buy and hold, as you mentioned, until this point has proven to be a successful, let's say, strategy for traders.
Right. What about associations? And I know Nicosia, they have a lot of online education programs. Give us a plug for how people might stay involved and get a sense, because this whole blockchain space or distributed ledger space is not going away. It just seems like the momentum continues to build. So let's say people who want to really dive deep, how do they go about that?
Yeah, the University of Nicosia has been the leading educator around blockchain technology since 2014. And I will suggest that anyone that who wants to learn about this technology in the business implications, the technical implications, the financial implications, he or she can register to the free introductory course that is facilitated by University of Nicosia twice a year. It actually, I'm not currently working actively with the university, but I know for a fact, because I was working full-time on this program, that has been launched 2 days ago. It's like maybe the 15th time that it's being launched. And it's 12 weeks. It goes through the regulatory aspects, the technical aspects. It explains what are smart contracts, what are decentralized applications, all the recent developments in the space, the applications for the developing world, the applications for the insurance industry, for the education industry, for the supply chain industry, all this kind of stuff. So in terms of education, I would say that the University of Nicosia is currently the leader on the space, and there are plenty of programs, certifications, as well as a full master's degree that basically the majority of the students are USA based, so it's all online.
Really?
Yeah. Until as far as I know, they are still most of the students are USA based, and leading instructors in the space as well, including Andreas Vlachos. He's considered a Bitcoin guru, and he runs some of the live sessions of this introductory course. So I would suggest that this is a great place to start for any newcomer in the
Yeah, and if people want to follow you personally, what are your own details? Are you on any social media platforms that we should look to?
Yeah, I am on LinkedIn, Andreas Vlachos, INDREAS, and
Yes.
my surname is VLACHOS. I am also on Twitter, and I usually upload some short introductory, let's say, tutorials of how wallets can be used, what are smart contracts, what is decentralized finance, what are the most secure ways that someone can acquire his or her own wealth. And yeah, I'm active in the community, and I would be happy to discuss the developments with anyone in the space, because we are an industry, a community that is trying to develop and bring newcomers close.
Andreas, thank you so much. There's also a great article on decentralized finance, or DeFi, by the Chartered Alternative Investment Association, which I just read. So we'll put all these contact details on our show notes page. So it's just goldnewsletter.com/podcast. And you'll see our man Andreas Vlachos there, all the way from Cyprus. Andreas, a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure as well, and best of luck to your podcast.
Cheers, man.